today's deep dive is just so refreshing. We are looking at this highly detailed travel guide and a walking tour overview from 2026.
Yeah, the soul of Sosua.
Right. The Soul of Sosua, the Dominican Republic Unfiltered. And this source, it immediately caught my attention because it actively rebels against that sterile brochure experience we were just talking about.
It's a really fascinating document to unpack, honestly.
It promises this raw, unvarnished look at a beach town that completely defies the standard tourist traps.
And they are really planting a flag here. The creators are essentially declaring that there is a vastly different, far more participatory way to experience the Caribbean right now.
One that demands you actually step outside the compound.
Exactly. You have to engage with the actual ecosystem of the town.
So our mission today is to extract exactly what makes a destination truly, genuinely authentic in 2026. We're using Sosua as our ultimate case study.
To really figure out the mechanics of that unfiltered experience.
Right. And to help you, the listener, decide if this kind of raw, immersive travel should be the blueprint for your next trip. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the most logical place to start is probably with the geography, because the guide sets up this really stark contrast right out of the gate.
Yeah, so where exactly are we talking about?
So Sosua is tucked along the north coast of the Dominican Republic. It's just a few minutes down the road from the city of Puerto Plata.
Okay.
And the document makes a very deliberate point to contrast Sosua with what you typically see in mainstream Dominican Republic travel vlogs.
Right, because if you search for the Dominican Republic online right now, like 99% of what the algorithm serves you is just Punta Cana.
Oh, yeah. Totally dominated by it.
It's just these sprawling, massive mega resorts where you wear like a plastic wristband.
You never even use cash.
Never. You don't actually need to leave the property for an entire week. But this guide describes Sosua as a complete antithesis of that model.
It really does.
The words they use for the streets are, raw, vibrant, alive, and my absolute favorite phrase from the text, they call it unapologetically Dominican.
Unapologetically Dominican. It's just the perfect descriptor. What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of modern travel content.
What do you mean?
Well, think about why places like Punta Cana dominate the algorithm, while places like Sosua are often, sidelined.
Because it's easier to sell.
Exactly. Think about what is easy to package on the internet. A sanitized resort is completely frictionless.
Right, you just show a quick clip of an empty infinity pool.
A bright blue drink, maybe a white towel folded into a swan on the bed.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds for the viewer to get it.
Right, it requires zero cultural translation.
It's frictionless for the creator too, honestly. Like if you are making a video, you don't have to navigate complex cultural nuances or, language barriers just to film a beautiful buffet line.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But Sosua is this dynamic, highly complex environment. It represents a thriving expat community that is constantly colliding with the local Caribbean culture.
It's messy.
It's very messy. And that kind of environment requires the traveler, and the content creator for that matter, to actively engage rather than passively consume.
It's noisy, it's intricate, it's deeply rooted in reality.
And for a lot of people whose baseline is that curated brochure, that level of realness is just incredibly intimidating.
Which is why I love that the guide actually calls out other travel vloggers. They claim that a lot of them are too afraid or too lazy to show this unfiltered side of the island.
It's a bold claim, but it tracks.
It totally tracks. I mean, listening to you explain the mechanics of it, it makes total sense. Why would you go forage in a loud, chaotic neighborhood market where you have to haggle and translate everything?
When you can just go to a predictable chain restaurant.
Right. Just sit down and order off a laminated menu in English.
Exactly. Because at the chain restaurant, you're just a consumer. But at that neighborhood market, you have to be a participant.
That's a great way to put it. But, the guy points out that this raw energy isn't just an attitude. It's not just the town center. It's literally reflected in the physical landscape, which leads us directly down to the water.
Yeah, the physical environment is a perfect mirror for the culture. The guide details Sosua Beach as one of the most spectacular stretches of coastline on the entire North Coast.
It looks gorgeous in the source material.
It's stunning. It features this massive natural reef system that protects the bay.
So the water is super calm.
Incredibly calm, crystal clear, and just ideal for snorkeling.
And here is where I found a detail in the source that completely broke my brain.
The shoreline.
Yes. The 2026 update in this tour explicitly notes that over the past few years, the shoreline of Sosua Beach has naturally expanded.
Which is wild.
It's actually grown wider and deeper. They say it cements its status as arguably the absolute best beach experience in the entire Puerto Plata province.
And we should note that is an incredible ecological anomaly for a highly trafficked tourist area.
Right, doesn't heavy foot traffic usually destroy beaches?
Usually, yeah. Heavy traffic and coastal development lead to severe erosion, not expansion.
Okay, wait. This is exactly where I have to push back a little, or at least, ask for its explanation.
Go for it.
If you understand anything about the mechanics of the global tourism industry, you know that beauty never stays a secret.
Right. Very true.
So if you have a beach that is geographically protected, it has perfect snorkeling water, and the shoreline is actually expanding naturally.
Yeah.
How on earth has this place not been swallowed whole by Hilton or Marriott?
It's the ultimate question.
Usually the second a beach gets a reputation like that, the bulldozers roll in, they pour 1 million tons of concrete, and a mega resort completely cuts off public access. How is Sosua resisting that corporate takeover?
It is a brilliant question, and the answer is entirely economic.
Okay, I'm listening.
The defense mechanism preventing that corporate takeover is the very rawness that the guide praises. It all comes back to how business actually operates on that sand.
Okay, right.
In a typical resort town, commerce is top-down. One massive multinational corporation buys the land. They own the restaurants, they rent out the chairs, they control the umbrellas, everything.
It's a monopoly.
Exactly. But in Sosua, the commerce is entirely lateral and grassroots.
Ah, you're talking about the beach shacks and the walking vendors that the tour kept highlighting.
Yes, precisely. The guide describes this living, breathing ecosystem of hundreds of independent local micro-businesses.
Like families just running shacks right on the beach.
Right. They cook fresh seafood right on the sand. You have local vendors walking up and down selling coconuts, cold drinks, souvenirs.
Oh, I see.
That decentralized, deeply entrenched marketplace acts as an incredibly powerful immune system against a corporate buyout.
Because a developer can't just buy a single plot of land from one guy.
No, they can't.
They would have to politically and economically dismantle this massive network of local vendors who rely on that very specific stretch of sand for their entire livelihood.
Exactly. The political friction of displacing hundreds of independent voting micro-business owners is incredibly high.
Wow.
So the sheer chaotic electric street-level energy of the local economy is what keeps the manicured corporate machinery at bay. It is an organic bulwark.
That's fascinating. The aesthetic beauty of the beach actually relies on the commercial ecosystem to survive.
The rawness is literally the shield protecting the sand.
And knowing that, it makes perfect sense that this unstructured, highly organic energy wouldn't just, pack up and go home at 5 p.m.
Definitely not.
Which shifts our focus to the town's legendary nightlife, because the guide suggests this is where the organic culture is truly tested.
Nighttime in Sosua is described as a complete transformation.
Yeah.
The streets come alive, you have live music spilling out of venues, real bars, and the guide heavily emphasizes that these are real bars, not manufactured tourist traps.
Right. They make a huge point to separate it from the manufactured club districts you see in other cities.
Yes.
You know those fake downtown areas built right next to cruise ports?
Yeah. Oh, with the overpriced Señor Frogs and the basic souvenir shops.
Exactly. Designed specifically to drain tourist wallets in 3 hours. Sosua is the opposite of that, and here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Look at the staggering diversity of the demographic that is actually walking these streets at 11 p.m. It's like a massive global potluck dinner.
The demographic mix they document is highly unusual for the Caribbean. It really is.
It's totally wild. They list this intersection of humanity that you just don't see together.
Right.
You have local Dominicans rubbing shoulders with expats from the U.S., from Brazil, from Europe. You have passport bros.
Which, just for context for anyone who might not know the internet slang.
Oh, right, good call. Passport bros refers to guys traveling specifically to find more traditional dating dynamics overseas.
Right.
So you have them mixing right alongside typical solo backpackers, young couples on vacation, and retired friend groups. Just this massive potluck where everyone brings their own ingredient, but it all marinates in that Dominican vibe.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what this guide is documenting is a sociological rarity.
How so?
Well, often, when a massive influx of expats and international travelers descends upon a beautiful coastal town, They don't integrate.
Right.
They gentrify. They overwrite the local culture. They buy up the beachfront property. They build their own exclusive gated enclaves, and they inevitably price out the local businesses.
And then pushes the local population to the margins.
Exactly.
And create that classic expat bubble where you can live in the Caribbean for 10 years without ever actually interacting with it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that happen in a dozen different beach towns across the globe. So why hasn't that happened in Sosua?
Because of how the local infrastructure forces integration.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
The expats and the visitors in Sosua aren't building a parallel, walled-off economy. Because the local Dominican businesses and the street grid are so entrenched, like we talked about with the beach, the visitors are forced to engage.
Oh, so they have to rent apartments in local neighborhoods?
Right. They eat at the local spots, they drink in the same real bars as the locals. They are participating in the existing ecosystem rather than paving over it.
It makes me think of like an open source software project.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
Like the foundational operating system is unapologetically Dominican. It's the music, the language, the architecture. But every single traveler, the Brazilian expat, the European backpacker, the solo traveler, they are like a new piece of code being installed.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. They bring their own specific function or vibe to the streets. But instead of crashing the system or overwriting the hard drive, they just add a new feature to the existing Dominican operating system.
Yes.
Everyone contributes to the final product without destroying the base layer.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. The decades of organic growth have created a cultural fabric that is just strong enough to absorb all these international visitors, all this new code, as you said, without losing its core identity.
Which is super rare.
It is incredibly difficult to achieve, which is why the guide claims this specific nightlife scene is basically impossible to replicate anywhere else in the Caribbean.
So the open source energy protects the town's identity at night, just like the grassroots economy protects the beach during the day.
Exactly.
But to really understand that